So this is the 6th or 7th time that I had to actually follow Thandie Newton, and it's really, really difficult, so just bear with me. And that's one of like 2 jokes I'll tell. The rest is really depressing, so make sure to laugh when I tell a joke. But in all honesty, I can only hope for an ounce of bravery and of gusto as I tell my story, because I have a very different pathway compared to everybody else who has spoken today. I haven't had the same struggles. I've had some struggles, but nothing comparing from what we've heard of today. So when I first heard of the theme of making an impact on others, the word that I thought of was conflict. Now, when we see this word, when we hear this word, it's an instant negative reaction. For me, I see conflict, I hear conflict, and I see hope, I see change, I see transformation, I see forward trajectory. And for me, I have faced a lot of conflict in my life, but it's come in 3 different levels. It's come on the self, with others, and with society and systems. And it's really, really important to really embrace conflict, and for me, it's been shifting it from conflict to positive conflict. This new generation, I'll include myself in this new generation because you always have to lie every once in a while to stay young, has a lot of good intentions, a lot of great ideas and passion and concern for others. We're now focused on, whether somebody eats gluten, whether they're vegetarian, all of these different focuses and how individuals interact with one another. Everybody is hypersensitive, which in theory is great, but in practice can be very, very difficult because we're very avoiding of conflict. So you can see here there's some theories around why we as a new generation are very afraid of conflict. It's very natural, okay? But looking at it, we've got parents that are constantly protecting us. I'd say 3 out of 4 of you have helicopter parents. Some of you laughed, the ones laughed actually have helicopter parents. Social media, obviously distancing ourselves from others so we're not actually having that space for conflict. After 9/11, being afraid to even have conversations, understanding what's really going on in the world. Political correctness, obviously not being afraid to say the wrong thing, so just not saying anything at all. Bipolarization of politics, not engaging in the conversation because if I make a mistake, I'll fail. Okay? And it's that fear that we all live with which stops us from having a space for growth, from having a space for change on yourself, with others, and society. So again, I've had a lot of conflict in my life. Again, not what others have, and that's my own internal struggle and something I'll allude to as I continue. Starting out as an undergraduate, I helped start the University of Washington Dream Project, so I was thrust into different things in society around inequalities, social justice. I transitioned after my undergraduate career to be an admissions counselor here at the UW, which is full of conflict because I'm dealing with individuals and saying some bad news to them sometimes. It's typically to their parents who then get angry back at me even though it's their child. We do not apply to college now, it's your son or daughter. And looking at it, I continued that pathway of conflict and interaction in my graduate school, in my graduate studies, getting a master's of education, and then now as a fundraiser and asking for money during a time of recession. Again, lots of conflict in my life. The tool that helped me transition and really grapple with things is the difference between intent versus impact. Okay? So let's take a phrase or a situation and understand intent versus impact a little deeper. So when somebody, let's say, your friend, your partner, asks you, do these pants make me look ugly? Okay? They ask you that, so that's, just simple, basic question. We all know that's a trick question in the back of our head. But my response would be, no, those pants don't make you look ugly. Okay? So my intent was to say, you're absolutely beautiful. Those pants are great. You're splendid. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Okay? Clearly, I didn't say that, but that was my intent. So the impact when he or she hears, no, those pants don't make you look ugly, ... the pants aren't the problem. You're ugly. Stay home. I'll go get a paper bag. So clearly, intent versus impact can be in many different ways. For me, it started definitely in my head of my own identity. And it's important to use this tool of understanding the difference between intent versus impact because it allows you to really engage with yourself. It creates that space of positive conflict. It allows for both the emotions to exist and your intent and the impact. And so you can own both of those. So for me, the conflict with self has been a very, very powerful experience for me. I grew up on Bainbridge Island, which is a very progressive, liberal, open community, and I was raised with the notion that being racist is literally the most negative thing you could ever do. So learning, it was ingrained in my life. We were a very accepting community, learning about lots of different cultures, but that concept of being racist was literally the worst thing in the world. I could go out and kill somebody, and it would be better than being racist, which racism is bad, clearly. And so when I came to college, I was searching for diverse communities because that was my intent. I really wanted to get out there and get connected. But as I was working, as I started the DREAM Project, which is a program that partners low-income, first-generation high school students with college student mentors, I was thrust upon my own image of myself in my own context, as well as my image viewed by others. I was thrust in learning about the concept of my own privilege of being white, institutional racism, social inequality, and everything that I represented myself in my head of wanting to be a good person. I didn't want to hurt anybody. That's the furthest thing from the truth. But no matter what, there was still always that time that I knew if I said something, if I did something, I was going to hurt somebody. So really that internal conflict was my biggest struggle. And obviously it's still difficult to talk about now because I don't want to offend you. I don't want to look like an idiot. And let's take a step back and be clear that that struggle is nothing compared to what the oppressed feel. That I am a part of the majority. I didn't intend to be a part of the majority. I didn't intend to be white when I was born. Okay, I didn't go down that corridor to white versus other. I didn't intend to be male. I didn't intend to be straight. I didn't intend to have full citizenship. I didn't intend to be healthy for the rest of my life or up until now. And so really that was always my struggle, my own conflict. And again, that's nothing compared to others. And that thought process goes on and on in my head constantly. Like, why does my voice matter? It shouldn't, because I want to work towards a community where everybody's voice matters, but I'm not important enough. But I want to live there and be in that great community, but I'm over here. And how do those two things exist? So it's really important for me to use the tools of intent versus impact as I transition forward to engage with others. So again, this was all going on in my head, not having the conversations. But college was the space for me to start having those spaces, the space for conflict, for positive interaction, positive conflict. And so I engaged with others, and I really wanted to see what my impact was. And looking with others, it's important to vocalize your intent versus impact. So when I say something and it's racist, I can say, certainly my intent is not to be racist, and using the word and, it was racist, and I hurt people, and it was wrong. So I can still be a good person with my intentions and have a very, very negative outcome, very, very negative consequence. And that little bit of wiggle room for me allowed me to go out and confront myself more and more, confront my own privilege, and have the discussions with others. And it was a very transformational experience for me. And obviously, each one of us has our own privilege. Each one of us has our own struggles. I mean, we're all privileged enough to be here at the University of Washington. and to be at an amazing school. So always thinking about how we're impacting others, what our intent is and what our impact is, and really bridging the gap between those. It's really, really important. Again, I step back and I want to clarify my intent. This is not a free pass for majority to go out and say whatever they want to and then say, oh, I didn't intend to make that comment, or I didn't intend to be a jackass. I was, though. But it's a space for individuals to voice their emotions and have them be validated. It's a space for individuals to connect with others. And then it's the tools and mobility to have an impact on society. And this is where I see it as the most difficult thing in the world and the place that we need to focus our attention, because this is where we can actually make an impact on others. This is where we can actually have change in society. There's always going to be conflict. You know, I talked about that space where everything's great, everybody's happy, everybody loves one another. We are never going to get there. It's human nature. Okay? We have conflict, we are different, we're stupid human beings. But it's important to know that we have to try. We have to have spaces for conflict. I, as a majority, there needs to be more people that go out and actually accept their impact on others. They accept their privilege, they accept their negative outcomes, and using intent versus impact is a tool to get there. It's not the only tool by any means, and it's not the perfect tool by any means. There will always be somebody that I run up against, somebody on the internet watching this video and says, that guy's an idiot. And that's okay. That's something that I need to accept. That's something that I hold internally, and I know I can't change. But I can always try to be the best person that I can be, and know that real positive change is coming in a space with positive conflict and knowing when you have intent versus impact. And this is this raw space. And college is the most amazing space for this to happen. So all of you that are at the University of Washington, engage in this difficult conflict. Engage in the conversations with others, because it doesn't happen out there in the workforce. It doesn't happen out there in the real world enough. You have the power to have that voice, to find your identity, because as we learned earlier, when you know better, you do better. Thank you.